Hey hens, how we all diddly doing? How's everybody holding up? Welcome to the entire history of Moonwood Mill, and I've been so excited for this video because obviously I love entire history ofs. I have an entire series on my channel where I just delve into the lore of the games, and Moonwood Mill, she did not disappoint, bestie. She did not disappoint. She came through. Whoever worked on the lore of this pack put their entire simulacy into it, and you deserve pay rise. I can't give you it, but I can help you get it, potentially. So, I had a howling, thank you, good time putting all this together, even though I literally look like that one meme of the lad with the corkboard where he's like that, because if the Sims 4 team know how to do anything, it's just to give us written blocks of text that has deep lore, but it's a written block no less. But it's good lore this time. So, in this, we will be covering as much of Moonwood Mill and its inhabitants as we can. So, let's jump in. Once upon a time, Moonwood Mill was filled with the bustling sound of the nearby lumber mill. Today, the town is transformed. The rusted shells of its former industry provide cover for a handful of mysterious denizens who sought out this wilderness-shrouded community, basking in its remote and anonymous nature. It's a place with a hidden history, and those who live here know that if you dig deep enough, you're bound to discover some fascinating secrets. And these secrets can actually be found hidden in the tunnels. So the tunnels look kind of derelict, like they haven't been used, but as soon as you do enter the tunnels, there's obvious that there's signs of life. So one of the things that there is in there that you can discover is an enchanted room. The enchanting music fades as Remus comes to a large round room with an expansive relief carved into the wall. Embedded glowing cerulean crystals give off enough light to make out the story within. The artwork depicts a magical conflict between two sides, with some favouring plasma and others who draw power from the moon. I've connected the two dots. Something is in the air. I can. It's there. There's lore in the wind, babe. Even my autistic ass could read this lore. And we know by now that I love to miss out the details. I just do not perceive them. But obviously, some favouring plasma. Vampires in The Sims 4 don't eat blood. They eat plasma or drink it. It's a liquid in it. And others who drew power from the moon. Mooncasters. And then another room as well is also a garlic haven. Remus pulls upon the bar and slips inside the box. It looks like some sort of old refuge chamber. There are beds, supplies, and some broken carved pieces of wood laying about. Picking through the detritus, so sorry if I'm pronouncing that one, Remus is able to find something of use before heading out. So what is actually going on here and what has happened in the past? So obviously it's alluding to some kind of magical conflicts that have things to do with plasma, garlic, and people who draw power from the moon. And the Sims team does actually expand on this lore. So if you read the history of Moonwood Mill, it delves into it further. An extensive tunnel network runs below Moonwood Mill. There are various entrance points around town, though even the locals find it difficult to navigate. Many speculate these tunnels were originally created during a regional time of strife, though records of such an event are lost to time. Perhaps the dark tunnels themselves might contain clues. There is references to this ongoing conflict and this war and this challenging time, but we will touch upon that later, so put a pin in that one. Pop a pin in it. Peter Piper popped a pin in that note. So speaking of the denizens of this town, we're off with maybe the most prominent players of Moonwood Mill, the Lundviks. And almost none of the Lundviks are alive and running around on all fours in Moonwood Mill now. They are on two legs up in that sky above. God bless them. Rawr. It's just the roar, honestly. Something about my 13-year-old seeing self is like, yes. But even though they're not alive, they do have a deep, deep history within the place, including the local lake being named after the family name. Even though they're not active residents and you can't really play with them, I love that there's an established lore of the town that goes way back, and it does feel pretty rich in history. So the first one that we're going to talk about, you might have seen his name floating around in other people's videos and in mine. Gregorius Lundvik. Gregorius is one of the original Mooncasters. We will touch on what that one is more specifically in a little bit. And his diary can also be found laying around Moonwood Mill. You brought my diary to school? All of these have entries detail in his life. He does have a wolf familiar whose name was Brutus. It was an alpha wolf who helped Gregorius develop an unusually high aptitude for pushing the limits of his fury and a knack for winning fights. So it does suspiciously sound a lot like the Greg that we know and love to be running around Moonwood Mill, the one who's a little bit unhinged now, which, you know what, go off, bestie, and we all. Brutus, his wolf familiar as well, also had fangs and claws sharper than any of his peers or predecessors, so rare. Then we've got Evelina Lundvik, and this is the wife to Gregorius and also an original Mooncaster, and their wolf familiar was called Gibby, named for the gibbous phases of the moon and not after the iCarly character, although I believe they are. And Evelina also had a fascination with the moon, so when in werewolf form, she really poured a heart and soul into the study of the moon and space, and worked to help her husband in his exploration of his fury. And also, as a fun fact, little tie into the lore, Evelina is actually the sim who discovered planet 6am using a heightened wolf sensors to identify its far-off glimmer as a life-supporting planet. Although, despite the fact that she was lucky enough to discover planet 6am, Evelina doesn't have much luck after that, God bless their little soul. Pernilla Lundvik, who was Gregorius' mother, she was a crafty sim who loved designing textiles, and she had a textiles empire called Lundvik's Loom. G. Girl boss! Which was started with a rug she designed and stress tested by setting her rambunctious toddler Gregorius on each one. You can buy the prototype version in game as well as the actual finished product. And then from this, she also designed furniture which she upholstered with the fabrics. I love women in STEM. And she also had the opportunity to pitch some of her theatre-esque chairs and was so confident in this design that she had thousands of the chairs produced. But then, unfortunately, she lost out on the proposal to Blandco. She never sold these chairs out of shame, but there's so fucking many of them left that you can actually still buy them in build buy mode. And then we have Yena Kia, who was one of the original Mooncasters and the closest friend of Evelina and Gregorius. And their wolf familiar was called Renga, who loved being adventurous and discovering new places. And she also had a non-werewolf wife called Emmy. Gay. It's fucking gay. On Pride Month, the best days. Love that for us. It's the gay agenda and we are winning. And Emmy wanted to settle down after the vampire conflicts were over because there was a war happening at this time, actually. And you'll want to remember Yena for later on. For absolutely no reason at all. Do not worry about it right now, babe. And then we've got Maria Volkov, who was also an original Mooncaster, and a wolf familiar was Verity. She also had a dedication to community enrichment and diplomacy, which meant that her and Gregorius often butted heads because he was very much rawr. You know, they didn't agree with each other's newfound responsibilities after they became werewolves. And Maria had the ability to control the fury, unlike Gregorovich, who just let it out. Let freedom reign. But yeah, he struggled a lot with his own freedom, which caused a bit of a rift between him and Maria. Apparently, she was the founding leader of Moonwood Collective, and she also wrote a history of Moonwood Mill, a book you can find in game. But also, interestingly, but it also says that Christopher Volkov was the founder of Moonwood Collective. And you know what I'm going to go with? I'm going to go with it was Maria, and Christopher took credit for it. Wondering if I'd get there quicker if I was a man. But then this leads us on to modern day during this time. So the two groups, or packs, they are werewolf packs, roar, make up the towny population of Moonwood Mill. And we've got the Moonwood Collective. I've touched upon this a little bit in my LP, but the Moonwood Collective is a dignified group of werewolves whose mission embodies the union of lycanthropy and philanthropy. Members are expected to be tactful, prudent, and diplomatic. They seek to make meaningful connections with all Sims. This includes mastering fury control to become more approachable and friendly to non-werewolves. And the leader of that one is Christopher Volkov, and we will delve into his family and his legacy in a little bit. And then we've also got the Wild Fangs. The Wild Fangs are a scrappy, free-spirited group of werewolves. They believe the werewolf lifestyle is the ultimate gift and they're going to make the most of it. The world is the Wild Fangs' playground. While exploring the vast world to expand the pack's influence, members are also expected to commit to ongoing self-improvement, aiming to become the best werewolf possible. And this pack, the Wild Fangs, is also led by Rory, who does have a tangled history with Christopher. And we have the one playable family in the town. It's a small town, but you know what? It's a werewolf hideout, so it kind of makes sense that it's small. I would like it to be. I will never say no to a larger town. So Christopher Volkov is actually Maria's son and is the leader of Moonwood Collective. He's been around longer than most can remember. He founded, I disagree with that one, Your Honour, and leads the Moonwood Collective, and is eager to take in any werewolf feeling displaced or lost, and he intends for his adoptive son Jacob to take over the Moonwood Collective. So Jacob is one adopted child, and that's who Christopher sees taking over the Moonwood Collective, but they also have another adopted child, Rory, and Rory just didn't really get along with the family values, and Rory actually went and they're the founder of the Wild Fangs, and since Rory's done this, the relationship between the two is really soured and there can actually be pack rivalry. Lily Sue also lives with Christopher and Jacob as well, and Lily has also been around for a very, very long time. She joined the household a very long time ago, a lonely wanderer who lost her closest friends to the vampires. The vampires have been fucking shit up for the werewolves. And Lily was also around before Rory and Jacob also came into the... And then we've got a mystery sim called Celine. Celine Dion runs the bar in town, and also Celine is kind of like the midpoint between both of the packs because she opened this bar with the help of both of the packs, because she wanted a place where all are welcome and can come together despite their differences. And I've even seen Caleb Vitar showing his little face in that bar. And you know what? She's given Switzerland. And I respect it. So buckle up, besties. I've given you a kind of introduction as to who all of the characters are. So now it's time to set the scene, babies. Now it's time to delve deeper. We have some lore with a capital L, in fact, to cover. And I had so much fun digging my claws, into all this information. So you might be asking, what is a Mooncaster exactly? And what difference do they have to werewolves? Because playing this game, I see Mooncaster, and werewolves jotted about the place. To answer that question, we have to go way back to a conflict between vampires and spellcasters. Is that cross-pack compatibility I smell? Yes, that you're right. I didn't just say it wrong. Vampires and spellcasters. Vampires are the bad guys here as well, obviously, and started something called Operation Eternal Flame. I'm going to be so fuming if that's like a secret code name for The Sims 5 or something, and the same gurus are watching us be like, ha ha! Operation Eternal Flame was a covert operation attempting to turn all remaining spellcasters into vampires. Not everybody wants fangs and to knock up people's doors at 2 a.m, Vlad. Now we have to go even further back, like ancient times back, to a small city where Sims called Mesopotamians lived. I done it right. And that is also the land that we now know as Moonwood Mill. These Sims believe that the moon held a great power and wisdom, and the greatest minds of society were reborn as wolves. And Moonwood Mill's own Mooncasters likely look to this society for information on harnessing the moon's power. So Mesopotamians not only held great reverence for the moon, but they also managed to tame cow plants, and even use them for defense, and even bred them to be mobile attack units. That's not very vegan, but you know what? It is fucking crafty, babe. And this does all come together. A blurb of text around the collectibles also reads, in modern times, it turns out Mooncasters were not the only group seeking unorthodox answers to the vampire problem during Operation Eternal Flame. The Mooncasters, who 100% came up with their name first, total coincidence, attempted to adapt Mesopotamian cowplant taming practices to their needs. It was an initial success, and they had a prosperous alliance with the Mooncasters. Needless to say, it didn't last long after one of the tame cowplants feasted upon Yenakia. Remember her? Remember when I said put a pin in it? Well, the cowplant put their entire fangs in it, babe. Yenakia was obviously an original Mooncaster and one of Greg's and Evelina Lundvik's dearest friends. The drama make, I just love it, but I'm sad that Sims had to die. I do think that it was a worthy cause for the plot, though. The plot is great. So, back to our original question, what the actual fuck is a Mooncaster? So basically, Mooncasters were a subdivide of spellcasters who focused their studies on the moon. Much like the Mooncasters focused on cowplants, Mooncasters focused on the moon. There once was a group of spellcasters who feared their vampiric attackers. In the moonlight, they swore to bear weakness no more, so they bore fangs and fur thereafter. Love a little limerick. So Mooncasters basically became werewolves. So werewolves actually come from spellcasters. So spellcasters and werewolves are linked. Mooncasters and werewolves and the wolf form and everything is also linked as well. So during the Mooncaster transformation, the Mooncasters and all of their wolves familiars kind of combine their energies. And that's why Gregorius took on so many of Brutus's aggressive alpha traits and why Yenakia's adventurous spirit only increases a Mooncaster. And also Gregorius's journal kind of covers this entire transformation from becoming a spellcaster to becoming a Mooncaster, so basically becoming a werewolf and like having the werewolf form, and how much vampires actually played a part in this. So after the vampire uprising, every one of us spellcasters grew increasingly desperate. One group tried to create a spell that could simultaneously cure every vampire in existence. A single spell to end the conflict. Of course, they were blinded by hubris, sorry if I pronounced it wrong, and hurried by desperation. The spell was too powerful for the group to handle. It caused a massive fracture in the fabric of the realm itself, which is also why Realm of Magic looks like that. Why the actual realm is all split into pieces and everything. Really fucking cool. Also, he does talk a little bit about him and Evelina's relationship now that they are both werewolves, and he talks about how during his rampage, he destroyed Evelina's telescope, which obviously she is really passionate about it, and he could see how distraught she was, so he fixed it together, and that's why we've got the hodgepodge looking telescope in game. And he talks about how lovely of a woman she is and how fortunate he is. But also Evelina seems to be mentally struggling, and me too, babe, because in another rampage that he goes on, Evelina's forgotten to care for herself during it because all she's doing is looking through the telescope and researching, and literally neglects everything else in her life. And with this, Greg is kind of like desperate to control himself, but obviously he's got all of this fury in him that he can't really control. But basically, that is an overview of Moonwood Mill, and then delving into the history and the vampire war, and then how spellcasters became werewolves. And from this as well, there is also a Moonwood bond. I haven't been able to play with this in game because I could only find it in debug, but it is a nice link back to the spellcasters, which again is where werewolves originally come from. So yeah, the lore in this pack is so fucking tight. It's one of the tightest bits of lore that we've had in a pack for a long time. It was great, really great. I had an absolute whale of a time, and I love how much it plays into all of the other occults as well. I would absolutely love to see this kind of lore continue in the game. Maybe just with a little bit less blocks of text, because do you know what, babe? I am not only a fast swimmer, I'm also a fast simmer, and I play on 3 times speed, and I do not, it's a lot for me to sit and read all of that text. In this video, I've spoken out to you, and I'm trying to do it in the most entertaining way possible, but there is a lot of text for the lore. I think a nice way to do this would be family trees, and just kill off like the older ones. That'd be really cool. But yeah, thank you all very, very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think, if you think the lore is strong and fun. Thank you, Brittany, for helping me write this script. You can follow them on Twitch. It's just @HeyZine. I love you all so, so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, bitch.